This is a heat-treated piece of coarse Burlington shirt. I'm really rusty, and I've got some issues here. It was sort of a spall that has some sort of soft cortex area on the edge, and it's sort of brittle. It's got some crystals in it, so I thought I'd make a Osceola Preform. And since I'm so rusty, I thought I've been making some mistakes, so I thought it would be good to do a little hack napping and work through some problems maybe. So I had some little failures up here, so I've had to build some convexity in my edge. I need to turn back. So let's just do some random trimming around. I don't know why I'm doing this. So when it's really crusty and I don't have platforms, I'll just sort of pinch the edge and try to find a little corner of the billet. It's important that I've got a bridge, so I can take a little flake there. Took a little bit of my tip. That's alright, just trim down. But this will help move my edge back over so that I can come back this way eventually. So I just get a little braid and a little pinch. Trim, trim. Trim. Pinch when I don't have braid. On this rock like this, when it's grainy, just have to use a little bit more width than you normally would. And the danger on this stuff actually is getting it too thin too early, and then the quartz makes it weak. And when you get it flat and then you build convexity, when you finish, it tends to get steppy, so it's really not a bad idea to keep it a little bit heavier than you normally would. Just pinch and trim down. That wasn't good. But it wasn't too bad. Oops. Little crusty right there. The late archaic people worked a lot of this. I guess it's probably late archaic, maybe early woodland. Copper culture people, they love working colorful lower grade flint. It seems like one for size. Boy, that gray stuff here is crusty. A lot of napping and stuff like this is just building thickness in areas you want it and trying to get rid of flat spots. Using some edge support and keeping things smooth off the edge right in here. Sometimes if you get a step in an area, it doesn't matter, but you want to make sure that if you're working with broad facets on the billets, you have it fairly uniform so that you have options when you turn your edge. In this case, we're turning down so that we can get some larger flakes around here. This square edge is going to be, we're really not going to be able to come around. We're going to have to just borrow a little width from here and then come down. So let's do that. A little trim. Hope everyone had a good Christmas, good holiday, good New Year, and some decent napping days. Okay, here's an area where the edge is down towards this side. But I'm going to just get a flake there. That'll split the difference in this flat area and give me an option maybe later on to get a flake here or here. So I'll just turn it over and get a point in here and get a little flake. Maybe one trimmer one. Okay. Turn it over. I've got a platform here now. I can get a blender here. That helped clean up that area in the middle. Now we're fairly well centered. We have a sinuous edge, and now we have a better opportunity to maybe run a flake down this way. So there we go, get started. Trim in. Now I'm mindful of my thickness at this point on the tip, so I'm trying to keep my width right up in here, but I've got plenty of width to play with in this area. So since it's so crusty, maybe one more blender. Okay, so a width eater, a back grind here. On this crusty stuff, isolated is usually a bad idea. So to make sure I drive this one in and don't get too crazy with an overshot here. There, I just did just enough. It thinned it in this area. And we got our width that we're losing, so we'll just keep going with that. I'd like one a little deeper. I'd just like him, but it's okay. Continue using our width. Little smoother here. It's getting flat in here, so I'm just going to smooth, small smoother. Clean up our deltas. Do a little thickening. Don't need to do much more there. We've got some edge thickness in here, so just little finger support, low angle knot in, just drop down and smooth into our thickness. There we go. So this is nice and smooth, and this is nice and smooth. So let's do some evening and trimming on this edge, and then turn and do some thinning down here. So just sort of decide where we need to go and what edge thickness we have to keep order. It's really important that these little trimming flakes don't get gougy and deep and scallopy and have junctions on the deltas that create thick areas, unless we do it intentionally to orient towards a heavy area on the other side. So now we're turned down for this area. We've lost appropriate width. Trim, even and straighten. When you get good at doing the brush, and the finger pinch, it's a good habit to get into too, for your trimming flakes, so that you're not over abrading everything. You just get a feel with the brush, and it just takes practice to feel how strong the rock is and how much of the edge you need to catch. The advantage of lower grade rocks that are crumbly is you can generally get a good feel for those brushing flakes, that you can catch a little overstrike and do more trimming than you could if this was something raw with high silica. So just because it's a lower grade doesn't mean that doesn't have some advantages in being able to trim, as long as you're using appropriate width. I'll crunch them a little bit. Sometimes you need to braid and then find a pointy spot because it's not isolated. You want to make sure that you don't crush. So you need to mitigate your speed for how much you've abraded your edge. And that one I cut quite a bit of edge, but it was turned out to be the right amount. There. That sound of when you take off thickness. And this low-grade rock doesn't really have a reassuring sound. It's sort of, it's not super strong, so you want to make sure you don't have radial cracks off your edge, and make sure that your thickness is evenly tapered so that you don't get stressed. Now the later stage punch work on this will, the shaft punch ought to be pretty nice. Where this large billet is going to be problematic because the flakes are going to end up being too thick. So we'll probably finish punch this. I totally missed that platform, but I had another one. Alright, so now little brush back and turn, and our thickness is right about where we want for this preform. I'm going to billet down, do some careful blending, and then get out the shaft punch. If you have problems with accuracy and crusty rocks, where at this stage, if you get some problems, then just spend a lot of time doing the small billet work or punch work. Just look at areas where you're going to need to move and turn the edge, and just take these little flakes. That way you're finding your ridges, and you're knowing which areas are softer, and some of these areas you need to take down more and get the edges a little thicker, because it's crusty. So spend more time on this little work, and if you end up like on flakes like this where they're not releasing or you're not accurate, then billet down or take a break or something. I figured that one was going to do a little step there. So when that starts happening, and this is a flake where now I'm going to need one to curl around here, so that's a sign that you want to stop billeting and probably go to the billet down or go to the punch, or just lose more width and back off on your angles, because you don't want to start getting steppy just because the rock is full of air doesn't mean you gotta step on the quartz. 1340. Golly, this. Anyway, I don't know if that's worth anything. The lighting was any good. This low-grade Burlington has a lot of iron in it, so it makes really nice reds. This piece was actually pretty red when it was raw, and chips well when it's wet, but if it dries out, it can get super crunchy. All right.